see the river. There's the water. Now, I can't say the military didn't play games with one another, because in some senses they would. They'd make like some rock structure like this, and they would turn around and be like, oh, there's a fort up there, just blasting an infantry cannon, and then they find out there's nothing there. So I feel like an idiot, as some would say. I don't think I would want to use a glider off this. I think one girl did, to see if it actually worked. It went down in that direction and hit the trees. Broken arm or something. Yep. Sounds hollow. I'm not walking around that way. Easy person way up. That's pretty much it for hyner. Most people have seen this, so I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. So sometimes people do actually see black figures, and they say the wall kind of bends a little bit, so it does. It'll give a little. When it falls down, let me know. I'm nice, aren't I? Because more than likely, if you fall and you make it in front of the wall, the wall's going to slide you down, so wait, you're going to be able to call it. So, I mean, it's nice. Some people report if you go up that road, that stretch of road, up there, you'll have problems and whatnot. More likely you will. I've been up that road a few times. People reported glass smashing, but there's never any real, no glass truck, no nothing. Like I said, Pennsylvania has more things than it should. And the reason I say that is some things are actually brought on by Europe, Britain, Ireland, Maryland, or not Maryland, actually yeah, Maryland, and Virginia, bringing things up here they don't understand, but they can lure in and out of their vehicles and just don't, getting rid of them. I've seen people get rid of dogs, cats, wolves, boa constrictors, full in, 28-foot, nice big old round 12-inch boas. I mean, it's nothing new for people to dump that off in the woods. Parakeets, but actually at the same time, parakeets not too bad. So it's kind of, I don't know, kind of depressing in some ways. We don't want alligators, so yeah, keep your alligators to yourself. There was actually 4 crocodiles left loose in this area, so I believe 3 of them were captured and 1's missing, so not like I'm gonna go looking for a freaking crocodile. Too much water, too deep. There was some talks about some other things, some topics wanted to be talked about. They were already talked about on Google. I think you click on the one video, you'll see where the link is for the account I have, so on Google. Don't like to really advertise too much because I already had my email hacked and Yahoo and both of them hacked, and I still haven't recovered either one, so it's always interesting. That's before I went to Google Plus, but Google Plus has its issues. As far as the story growing off of Hyner, down there around that corner, and Lawson went over, that was not debunked, but it was actually, later on the girl was talked to and interviewed, and she said she had lied. So, that's always the interesting thing. Oh my God, girl died on Hyner. She actually answered to why she did that, which is really interesting. And the reason is that a lot of people in college were following this routine of make it look like a suicide, get a group of people to vouch that you died, get a death certificate, or disable yourself by hurting yourself, and then doing this other thing where it makes another person by pulling themselves, and then have 2 jobs and get 2 paychecks. Or live off of disability and whatnot. So I explained to her a little bit about what disability is. It's not a privilege, it's not a right. There's nothing under the Constitution, let alone European law, which the Constitution was done away with, like I said, in 1934. Of any and all acceptance of a Constitution into that of the government or the hierarchy, because the hierarchy would constantly reject that of the Constitution. And such, it does not describe nor explain anything of which would be of value to a person. So you say, where's it say that you shouldn't murder? They were shown a few different ways that they could have worded that. They chose the way they were wording it, where it says that you shouldn't, that it says in the Constitution, you should not murder. At the same time, the Constitution is incorrect. The right to defend yourself could lead to the event or the fact of murdering someone accidentally through that of which is often not a fatality but a later coming of death. When I say later coming of death, it means in a nice way. Okay, this wasn't foreseen. The guy got beat up really bad. He was hospitalized, whatever. And then all of a sudden he had a blood clot. Went to his brain. Now we're trying to blame someone 10 years ago that his ass beating caused his blood clot. With a lot of rich and wealthy people, which the Soviet has a lot of them. Makes all the wealthy people around here put to shame in certain aspects. Even though my system's implied, they're making, by the time a wealthy person's done, in reality, not in just handing money out like they do here, a wealthy person will make up to $12 million as you know it, where most people here could make the profit end of 4.8 to 8.8, being on the average of a $30,000 to $40,000 job without hard-end tax fees. What they have here is a hard-end tax fee, which the Soviet turned around and said, some taxes kind of hurt my head in a literal way of physically. Why don't we just turn this word tax into a fee? So we'll put fee in there instead of tax, which really does lighten the fact of the pressures put against the person. In this, the Soviet no longer uses the word tax, neither does Europe. And such of doing all this, the pressure is relieved from the person, but the responsibility still has pressure that comes with it. And this may sound funny to you, but when you're saying decide what to do with this dead guy sitting in a gurney, what do you do to make him come back to life? Okay, here's the first one. Put him in a building that no one has lived in 50 years. Make the bed as nice as possible and put him in there and put the linen over his face. Now some would say this is a waste of time, guy ain't gonna come back. I get to get notified in the response of an answer. That's what he's waiting for. Yes, he's dead, but he may be sleeping. When I say sleeping, don't misunderstand me. His body may be physically dead at the full value, if it was a value, the erase value, of being, he still has life in him, but because something he did is holding him back. And this is what they often say, and really isn't a waste of time. I just kind of lied to the people in California to get them off my back. You can actually wake someone up who's dead. You actually can make them want to live again. But some people have lived over 989 years straight through. They found every odd way to come back. And most of them do it by the sense of their own. The other ones do it by the sense of not their own. That means your sons and daughters that died because they had a brain tumor all of a sudden, made it to 9 years of age, but looked like their mama, as they say mama, and all of a sudden she's starting to look younger and more beautiful. If not already through the process of the 9 years she's taken away from that child. Now some would say, how do you do this? Well, that's simple. The laws in Europe and in Soviet countries often has the abuse laws that are still in effect, which was another thing I wanted to look at. But still haven't made it over there. To the point of whether or not they needed changed. In this, of the abuse laws, it allowed a person to not really regenerate, has no real word to it, but it has to be done through a process of not a committee, but a number of people, to where they are allowed to do something. A single person is allowed to do this one thing, and then it came down into the, that kind of violates the person's rights. No, because if you do two lives simultaneously at the same time, you will be ugly. You do a single life through a draw, as some might say, and you won't be ugly. But you might be a little extra hairy. I'm sorry, I worked at IRB, so I know how to promote, these weird things. But the same thing about this is you're not allowed to eat meat. Not allowed to eat meat for over 20 years. Anyway, that's where, my job gets a lot harder there with being a hierarchy, because I get to see everyone do all this maniacal shit that shouldn't really be happening, to where my idea of it is you should spend 1,000 years in a grave. At the end of the 1,000 years, they're going to wake you up. Actually, through the 1,000 years, they're going to actually do more and wake you up, but you're going to see a lot of action while you're dead. And laying there, knowing that no one has actually forgotten about you. They are doing what they need to do and whatnot, and through the years, because there's a way to make a grave to where it's more like a cellar, but it's just really tiny. Because where some of these places we go, you find concrete structures in the ground, but you don't find a building. Other part of it is with the people doing certain things, robbing graves, stealing stuff, kind of like your time capsules when you look at YouTube. Oh, we found a dead guy in here. Yeah, that's a do not touch. I heard that saying more than once in the 60s and 70s and 50s. But a lot of you came over here. So a lot of you can't deny the fact of the law. Now, some people, they let go of the fact of what they were doing to this kid they misused 5 to 8 times. Because normally I'd step in and tell them there's a certain way to have certain things done to where it's not another life. When I say another life, it means that your body produced another life. The male, it's not him, it's not her who got pregnant, and so forth. And that's what's killing a lot of people. The abuses. because that's actually a rule, regulation, and law here. And they are actually they're actually activated in the sense of activating that if you break them, you're going to have problems. Big problems. Don't matter who you are. Don't matter if you're British. Don't matter if you're a single-blooded person who's never made one mistake in the world. Through the generations you live. So, that's the problem. They foreboding those, and you'll be looking at a grave the rest of your life. For more than 1,000 years. Trust me. I've seen rich people, and the funny thing about rich people is their best friends can always be swayed for about $28 not to go out there and wake them up. $28. And all of a sudden you spend 20,000, 40,000 years in a grave and you're still awake. Now the awake part's now becoming more to your brain. Is actually becoming more responsive to that. Because now you can't actually ignore the fact your brain is rotting and you can feel it. So you get to 60,000 years and you're starting to worry. Where's your friend who got bought off for $28 million? Happens in the desert all the time. But the sad part of it is how much they don't care, and how much, if that would happen with inside a government, the same treatment for the guy that was bought off for 28 million or million, is going to happen to him. So there are people here that will and may appear loyal to a person, but they're not. So, and that's part of being for me, is being hierarchy. The highest you can go, I can't always be truthful. That's what this government kind of got pissed about. It's like, oh yeah, you're not truthful about the fact of stealing $18 trillion from Europe. It's the Soviets, Czechoslovakians, the people in the desert, Africa, Pakistan, Singapore, Asia. But at the same time, we make it look like a nice, neat package fund you've been working on since 1984. In 1984, you started taking taxes from them. Oh my God, we paid you too much. Now the computer says, and did say $8.25. Now it's saying $8. So you got screwed and had to work an extra 2 to 3 years. Right, Trump? And now you got a problem. Minimum wage, by the way, is $15.50. If not $15.25 by the standard. Now, if you really want to get down to minimum wage and have your teacher kind of want to throw up his lunch on your paper, write an essay in business. Figure out what the equivalent of $18 trillion is to an economy by that of a loan that's 28% to a 58% cap. Okay, it can't go over 58%, but the cap at the same time can be removed by the hierarchy to spike it up to 98%. So if you figure out all those freaking numbers by 1 billion, which is, like I said, you got 6 zeros, a comma in the middle, and then you got the 1 sitting at the front in the 7th position to your left, as in 1. They refer to it as a million. I like to keep things in order. 1 billion, and then thereafter it's going to be plus 7 to get to the next word in the sense of saying billion. That's how financials are done, but not this crooked whatever school you went to, whatever college you went to, because they all wanted training by me, because they couldn't understand it. So you're getting, in all honesty, you're not getting an academic education. I'm learning with you and trying to stay ahead of you type of training in college. That's why I look at the $28,000 price ticket for an education and laugh. You're getting ripped off. That should be about $12,000 for 4 semesters, or at least, actually I'd say about $8,000 for half a semester, and then another $8,000 at $16,000 for another semester, as long as you provide most of the money for your own books and education. But if you think about it, that's $16,000 or $8,000 it's going directly to the teacher. The college is making roughly about $3,000-4,000 off of it, and so is the teacher making $4,000, which doesn't sound like much. Well, that's not much during the month, but it's enough to get you to $1,000 paycheck per month. On top of that, the college might slight a little bit in the sense of, okay, we'll just take $800 to $1,000. That's without room and board or any type of anything else, with a lot of online learning. And really, online learning doesn't make it that much cheaper. I think it's about $1,000 cheaper. But they're charging $48,000. Does that come with baked beans and mashed potatoes or something? Because I ain't seen the benefit in this crap-ass education type setting. I mean, I'd rather go down to a vocational, go to ACI, or Automotive Center Institution, I should say, which is ACI. Because it's actually hands-on all the way through most of your 4-year plus book study through an 8-hour period, where you're going to actually learn something. And they supply the details for the engine and whatnot. But I mean, that's actually, I think, around $16,000 a year. So you put a price tag on what you're doing, and when you max it out, then when shit don't work, when you fix it, I don't want to hear it. So, because that's how that works as well. Anyway, yeah, it's a double whammy triple, is what it is. One kid looked at me in a roundabout way and said, "Oh, I'm gonna bankrupt you." Kid, I couldn't even bankrupt myself at this point, even if I wanted to. But anyway, have a good day.